Hello everyone, welcome to yet another tutorial. Today we are going to look at how to create a ball bounce in Maya. So we will create a rig for the ball, we'll texture map the ball, we'll animate it, we'll add squish and stretch, we'll look at the graph editor curves, and then we'll render it out. So let's see how to create a ball bounce in Maya like this from scratch. So we are in Maya, modeling, we'll use a polygonal cube and we'll name this ball. So it's important that when you create a rig that everything is named properly, and so that whoever the animator is who is going to animate this has clear guidelines. Okay, so the ball is moved up so that it sits on the ground, so the y translate becomes 1, and that's the only change. So you can go to edit, delete by type, history, and then you can go to modify, freeze transformation, so everything becomes 0. Alright, so that's our ball. We need to texture map the ball. So if you search for beach ball texture or any texture, I mean if you want it to look something different, it's up to you, but I'm going to use this texture so that the ball looks like so we can see the rotation of the ball and see how the squish and stretch works even when the ball rotates. So we'll go to attribute editor. Let us add a new material, so it doesn't have a default material, and we'll name it ball texture, and we'll assign that image we just downloaded from the internet, which is this. And if you hit the 6 key on the keyboard, you will see the beach ball texture in the viewport. Okay, so that's our beach ball. Now we need to create the control. So I'm going to create a circle, and you can go to show grid. My grid was hidden on the top view. I'll make the circle a little bigger so it's away from the ball, and we will name this main control. Okay, so the main control will be used to move the ball and squish and stretch the ball, and then we will need another circle. And before we create the another circle, I want to modify this the way it looks. Like if we go to control vertex, I'll select these 4 and scale it inside. Okay, quite a bit. And then we'll go to object mode, and then we'll simply scale it big, and then you can again go to that and scale it furthermore, so it has some sharp corners like that. So you can again go to edit, delete by type, history, modify, freeze transformation. So that's our main control, and then we'll create another circle, scale it big, and then move it in the center. So move it up to 1, and now this is also done. So this one is going to be edit, delete by type, history, modify, freeze transformation, and we'll name this rotation control. Okay, so that will be used for rotating the ball. So we don't need the translate, so we can right click and lock it, and we can hide it. Scale we don't need, so we'll lock it and we will hide it. Okay, so only rotate is visible. We can rotate the ball if you want down the hill or something, so I'm not going to change anything here. Alright, now we need squish and stretch. So we'll select the ball, go to deform, non-linear, squish. Okay, so we're going to use the factor for squish and stretch. Now you can see that the squish is going below the ground. So we'll select the squish and stretch controller, and we are going to move it, this one. move it down, okay, at 0. Okay, and now the squish and stretch is messed up, so high bounds I like 2 and low bounds I like -2. Okay, it just looks right. So when the factor is 1 or -1, the squish and stretch is from the ground. Okay, and it is more squishing at the bottom where the impact is. That's why I like these two numbers. So you can experiment with those. So if it is 0, now it's 0. Okay, so now we have all the controls. Now we need to connect them to each other. I will just go to Window, Outline. Okay, I'll select the ball, shift select the rotate controller and go hit P. Okay, so now the ball is inside the rotate control. So if you select the rotation control and rotate it, the ball rotates with it. Okay, now this squish and stretch controller, I will shift it with this and parent it. So, and then this one, shift this, parent it. Okay, so under the main control, we have the squish and stretch, we have a rotate control, under that there is a ball. So if I rotate the ball and if we squish and stretch the ball, see, it is squishing and stretching and rotating at the same time. So that's what we want. Everything looks great. Okay, now what we need to do is, we don't want this squish and stretch control, too many controls, so we'll make things simple. So we'll select our main controller and we will add the squish and stretch option here, and then we will hide the squish and stretch. Okay, so if you select this, go to Edit, Add Attribute and give it a name, Squish Stretch. Add a space if you want and say OK. So now we need squish and stretch to control the factor of the squish and stretch controller. So we'll select the main controller and we'll go to Window, General Editor, Connection Editor, and you can see that the squish and stretch is already loaded, or you can say reload left and squish and stretch comes. Then you select the squish and stretch control, click on squish and reload right, and then select the factor. So now the squish and stretch will control the factor. So if you want to test it, you can select it here, click on squish and stretch, and it is working fine. Okay, so now what we can do is we can select this and say Control Edge and hide. So now we have this, it is going to control the squish and stretch, and then we have this, it is going to control the rotation. Amazing. So now our ball is ready for animation. Okay, so we will do the animation in the side view. So what I'm going to do is go to frame number 10, and one thing I forgot to do is, if you select the, oh, I did it, we hit that one. So now we are going to move, this ball is going to move in X and Y, we are not going to deal with Z. Okay, so we can right click these and say key selected at frame number 10. Go to frame number 1, select this and go somewhere here, select these and say key selected. Okay, so we got animation. We don't see the animation curves. So if you go to animation, visualize, create editable motion trail, and we are going to say time slider. So it's going to create 120. That's okay. Create motion trail. So now we see that the ball is moving here at frame number 20. the ball will bounce, key selected. 30, hits the ground, key selected. 40, up, key selected. 50, down, key selected. 60, very little, key selected. 70, ground, key selected. Okay, so it's going to be a 70 frame long animation, and the ball is animating. Alright, so now we need to fix the curve so that the ball bounces. So what we need is that if you look at this curve, when the curve is horizontal, that means the ball is slow, and vertical means fast. So we don't need any horizontal at the ground level, because the ball is going to go fast. So it's going to someone is throwing it, so it will go, and then it will pick up speed as it hits the ground because of gravity, and then it will bounce back, and then it will try to resist the gravity and go up, and then try to come down, and it comes down, speeds up. So I'll go to window, animation editor, graph editor, okay, and translate X. We will delete all these keys, okay. So the ball is simply moving from point A to point B in X-axis. All right, so and then in the Y-axis we are going to select all these bottom keys, only the bottom ones, and we'll just make them linear. Okay, and then this one becomes like this. So the ball is going to come like this, bounce. Alright, so you can see that the ball is bouncing. Alright, so this one can go closer. Okay, so I want this frame number 70 to be closer. Let us put here and then update the key. 60 is in the middle. Okay, so let us go to the graph editor. Actually, no matter what you do, the distance remains the same because we deleted these keys. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to add the rotation. Now we are happy with how the ball is bouncing. Okay, what we need to do is we need the ball to slow down as it ends. Okay, so I forgot that. I had like a brain freeze. I was like, what am I doing? So translate translate X. So what we want is that the ball is fast, and as it comes here it slows down. So horizontal is slow, vertical is fast. So we'll create this, and then we want this to slow down like this. Okay, so the ball is fast here. Alright, so now the ball will be faster in the beginning. Okay, so the previous motion trail became redundant. I had to create a new one for some reason. So if you go to window outliner, we have motion trail handle 1. We can go and delete it. Okay. So our animation is right, just that the display of curve was not right. Alright, so now we will add rotation. So we will select the rotation, go to frame number 70. At 0 we need to add a key. So we'll just hit S. And at 70 we will simply add some rotation to the ball. Doesn't matter how much, as much as you want the ball to rotate. And now we have a ball that is rotating. Okay, so we'll select this, go to 70, and it's 390. I need more. Okay, we need to hit S again to update it. Okay, so now what we need to do is control the rotation as well. So window, animation editor, graph editor. So rotation X, Y, Z. So again we want the same thing. We want the rotation to slow down, and this has to be linear. You can again speed it up. So the rotation will be fast in the beginning and it will slow at the end. Perfect. Now we have to add squish and stretch. So we'll go here, we'll go to frame number 10, and it's going to squish. So minus 0.2. Okay, and then I will add a key selector. We'll go to 0, 0, key selected. So 20, 0, key selected. 40, key selected. 60, key selected, and we don't even have to bother about 70. So here it is squishing at my 0.2, no squish. Then here will be, say, minus 0.1, key selected. So it's more squish here, less squish here, and then very little squish here. So here will be, why is it 0.08? Is it 0 here? Yes, it is 0 here. Okay, here it will be minus 0.05. Key selected. 0 and 0. Okay. And then just before the ball hits the ground, 0.2, it's going to stretch, and then key selected. Okay, and then we will give it some time, say after 3 frames we will squish it again. So it was 0.2, so 0.15. Okay, key selected. So here it is 0.2, but it loses its force and it's less squishy. So now here it is minus 0.1 because of the impact. We will need 3 frames and we'll make it 0.7, 0.07. Okay, key selected. So we need, here it is 1 frame before will be minus 0.1. 0.1. Key selected. So minus 0.1. It is minus 0.07. 0. Here it is 0.05. key selected, and after 3 frames 0.03 key selected, and then 0 and 0. Then you can see that squishing. Okay, so it's ever slight squish and stretch, but that adds that realism to the ball. Okay, so if you want to update this key, let me see what happens if I try to. I want this key to be slightly here. Key selected. But this key is not updated. But it might look nicer. Okay, so now the whole thing is updated. So we go to Window, Outliner, select this motion trail and delete it. Click on this, go to Visualize, create editable motion trail. So this is how the new one looks. Okay, if you want, you can go to 80 and S, and the rotation, window, animation editor, graph editor. Move this key to 80. This is not necessary. Window, animation editor, graph editor. There has to be some rotation at 80. Yes. Window, animation editor, graph editor. That is done. Let us look at this. In a straight line. Okay. So that looks good. So what we will do is we will set up our camera in such a way that the ball comes and goes out of the screen. So we'll go to create camera. We'll go to panels, perspective camera. We'll go to polygon model plane. And we'll make the plane big. And then that's where I went to hide the grid. Okay, and then we'll select the camera, move it up, move it back, view, camera settings, resolution gate. Move the camera right, move the camera closer. Okay. So the ball will come and go out. Alright. So that's our animation. The plane, what we will do is go to vertex, select this vertex, move it up, select this vertex, move it up and little back, and then object mode, move it back, then we can scale it so it covers the entire area. Go to modeling, mesh, smooth, and division will be 2. Edit, delete by type, history, go to attribute editor, the color I'll just make it white. Okay, we'll go to Arnold, lights, sky dome light, go to color, file, and assign a HDRI image. What image you like? I like this one, so it will add. Go to render settings. It's going to be XR file. We're going to use name number extension. We have like 80 frames of animation, right? 80 frames. 960 by 450 is fine. We need camera AOVs, denoiser, output data, common. It's going to save. If you set a project, it will give a path where remember where it's going to get saved. Okay. Frame padding is of 2 because we only have less than 100 frames. So it will be named, and then we can give it. You can just say ball bounce. Okay, and then close it, and then you can go to animation, and you can just test render. Okay, we cannot test render this. Select this. There's nothing to test render. So let the ball come into the picture near the ground. Render it out and see how it looks. Okay, so the shadow looks good. It is little dull, so we'll click on the sky dome and increase the intensity to say 1.5. Render it again. There is some bug in Maya. I think the renderings look really odd. Okay, so it does look much better if you go to rendering, and I have some files, so I need to clear those. So I'm saving this in my YouTube, Maya, character, and then images and beauty. There are all these files from my previous render. I can delete those. And then it creates all these other files. So I'll delete all of these. And noise. Delete this. I'll just delete all of these. What happens? Alright, go to rendering, render scene. Okay, and then we're going to go to desktop, YouTube, Maya, character, images. It's going to create a new folder, and There's a ball bounce 101 and ball bounce denoise 101. So I'll double click on this one. Computer is busy rendering and opening Photoshop at the same time. We have this file open, we can close that. I have my Teams open, I can close that. I have my Excel that I can close, make things faster. So that's how the final render is going to look. And now let us open 105. Let's see the 5th frame. The ball is coming into the picture. Six, 7, 8. Okay, so let us open 7. Okay, so it looks pretty good. Let it finish the rendering and then you can export it as a AVI movie. So that's about it. Thank you very much.